pull up a cup of coffee, and let's get this party started.
We're the uplines you didn't know you needed, but now you have.
This is the podcast for women who are building a direct sales business, but want to do it the right way.
Melanie has a decade of experience in direct sales. She's earned the top in industry 4 years in a row and has grown a multi-million-dollar organization. She gives a no BS approach to leadership, recruitment, and organization.
And my bestie Katie has you covered with the rest. From the relationships, the do's and don'ts of branding, her content has been viewed by millions. She doesn't just talk the talk, but she teaches people how to create an intentional brand too.
All right, let's get this party started.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Direct Sales Done Right podcast. We are excited to be back here in studio filming another episode for 2023. Gosh, it's hard to believe. Like, where did 2022 go? But today we're going to talk a little bit about just our customers, our consumers of our social media, and have their habits actually changed. And as a direct sales business owner listening to this podcast, we know you listen for a lot of our social media tips, our marketing tips. And we want, I know, we want to really dive in and talk a little bit about what we feel are some of the up and coming trends that you really want to pay attention to that are going to affect the way that you put out content for your audience. But before we do that, we always like to jump in and give a review of the week. And we'd love it if you head on over to iTunes. And maybe you're listening to this right now. Go over to iTunes, leave us a rating and review. This helps us show up in the search feeds of other individuals who are looking for direct sales business advice. And it allows us to get some feedback from you as to what you love about the podcast. So Tiger Lily's mama, we just want to say thanks for being our review of the week. And it says, I love the no fluff strategies that Katie and Melanie provide when I'm feeling stuck or I need to regain control over my business. This podcast is my go-to. Thank you, ladies, for always being so transparent and sharing your best tips. They are greatly appreciated. Well, you're welcome. We are so glad that we can provide you that kind of insight because that's truly why we do the podcast. It is to make a greater impact on your life. And we also want to give a quick shout out to our listener of the week. And just like leaving a rating and review on iTunes, you can screenshot this podcast episode. You can tag us at Chic Influencer. Tell us what your biggest takeaway was. We'll feature you on our platform because we love to share your takeaways with our audience. So Stephanie Gober, thank you so much for also being the listener of the week from social media. We greatly appreciate it.
And she wins actually a free mini coaching. So
cool.
Steph, if you are listening, you can DM us and you are going to get that mini coaching session.
Sure.
I love doing them. They're so fun to like voice over and just chat through some goals business owners have. So yes, well, I am excited for this episode because I love talking about changes and consumers and really how we show up on social media is changing. And I really love that I analyze, it's just my personality. I analyze like buying habits and I analyze our stats and I look at things that are working or effective or aren't effective. And man, 2022 was a whirlwind. It was a whirlwind. For example, we really were seeing a shift in consumer habits. And part of that was just because of what has happened over the past 3 years, really just to all of us. We went from being people who wanted to be home all the time, and now we're really out there a little bit more. So the world too is changing as well. And so we have actually seen some major shifts that we want you to be ahead of. So this episode is for anyone who is finding themselves in a place where you're going, well, what worked for me before isn't working for me now. And I had success using this strategy before, and it doesn't feel like it's working anymore. So we're going to dive into that. But before we do, I want to give you a simple stat. About 58.4 of the world's entire population, so that is entirety, uses social media for an average of 2 hours and 27 minutes a day.
It's insane.
You guys, we are on social media. But what are we doing on social media is the bigger question. So that's really what we're going to dive into today.
Well, let's do it.
All right.
That is crazy. All right. So if we kind of like think about what are people actually consuming and, let's walk through that because it's important as somebody who is using social media to promote your business that you understand the consumer habit. So what are we seeing?
Sure.
What's some of the trends?
Video content. So I want to just note a couple of the platforms that women in direct direct sales most often used.
Okay.
The most often used platforms are still Facebook.
Okay.
We still see entrepreneurs, direct sales owners using Facebook, business pages, personal pages. Personal pages were never intended for business. I want to kind of put that disclaimer out there. Using groups, VIP groups as well. We also see people using Instagram and TikTok. What you need to realize is Instagram and TikTok are owned by Meta, which is within the United States. TikTok, although it is a platform that is used most often by Generation Z, millennials, I think I have it right. They are using more of TikTok, but that actually isn't owned by us, which means that the habits we have adopted on Instagram and the way we consume is different than what we do on TikTok.
Right.
So the first thing that I want to note, Melanie, is that no matter what platform you're on, video content is what people are consuming most, and it's what they're consuming most mindlessly too.
Okay.
So I kind of want to note and give that sort of preface with that as well. So here's why I think, and what research is starting to back up is our attention spans are getting super short.
Right.
If you notice that even, let me give you an example. If you're watching a TV show, so Yellowstone, we're both pretty partial to Yellowstone.
Yes, we are.
When you're watching Yellowstone right now, we actually have to watch the commercials because of the platform that it's on, right?
No, it's driving me
what
nuts.
do you do during the commercials?
Pick up your phone.
Pick up your phone, right? Your attention span is so short. And then I also note that if the plot line gets kind of boring or mundane, what do?
Pick up your phone.
Pick up my phone, because our attention spans are just like, I need to be entertained. And there was this Nirvana song back in the day about entertain us. And I think about that 90s song all the time. And I think how appropriate it is right now. We long to be really entertained nonstop because that's what we consumed, especially for the last couple years.
So what you're saying is that when I create a 20-minute Instagram live that nobody's watching me anymore?
Well, it depends. I want to note that. First of all, if you already have an established brand and credibility, you will likely have followers who love you and are already watching what you do, who may consume your content, but they probably don't do it at length. So for example, if you're doing a 20-minute live, I am guaranteeing you see that number go up and down and up and down and up and down. People aren't sticking to that content for 20 minutes.
Right.
Does that make sense?
So you really can't ramble. You can't get on social and just ramble anymore like you used to. You actually, you have to get to your point. So it's like you always have to be thinking about the Katie and the Melanie that's sitting on the couch watching Yellowstone thinking, I don't want them to go to their phone. I don't want them to go to the commercials and go away from me. I want to keep them here. Right? Okay.
Yeah. So the rule of thumb is create videos when you actually have something to say. Don't just randomly spurt it out. Don't just randomly do it. One of the things that I started doing is I started giving these like hidden gems within my stories. And a hidden gem is really a very quick content tip, writing tip, or just in general, like how to show up on social media, something that you might be doing wrong. And I keep it at 15, 30 seconds, and that's it. So I do that in my stories. You could do something like that in your reel where you get to the point and fast.
Yeah. I find that I even speed up how fast I'm talking.
Oh, I do that too.
Yes. And another quick tip is you actually exhale and then you say the first word. Is that right? Is it exhale or inhale? Like you just say the first. There shouldn't be a pause before the first word happens. I actually edit it a little bit too. So you think about that. And then also not just recording a clip in one way. So even saying a sentence and then switching your location, saying another sentence, switching your location.
Constant.
Right?
Yeah.
So it just, again, you're constantly trying to keep people's attention and you do have to shift that up a little bit too.
And one of the things I teach through the Chic branding experience is really evaluate why you're sharing specific content. So for example, if you are creating a trending audio or a trending reel and you are doing it the same exact way as everybody else, guess what? You're creating copycat content. You're not creating standout content. Sure, it might get you views, but you're not going to be seen as a professional. So you might be asking yourself right now, what do I want? Do I want reach and engagement, or do I want sales? Like, do I want to be seen as the expert? And only you can answer those questions.
Because you are using them both at different times. Sometimes it is reach and engagement. Sometimes it's sales.
Yeah.
Depends on where you're at.
But you also want to create purposeful content too.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
For sure.
So another big change that we're noticing is, just not sharing your whole life on social media.
Yes.
Because when Instagram stories first came out, you shared everything. You shared what you ate, you shared what time you went to bed, you shared your journal, you shared, every single piece of your day.
Nonstop.
And the number of little lines across your Instagram stories was wild, right? And people consumed it, they binged, but not everybody has a life that is as, exciting as the Kardashians. I don't know if you saw their Christmas party where they had like 100 and some red lighted trees and this, right? So like my life isn't that exciting. People are not going to show up to my Christmas party.
Right. But I also want to kind of clarify that too. People may be keeping up with the Kardashians right now, but people aren't trying to keep up with you. Yeah. And I mean that with all the love in my heart, but I don't keep up with the Kardashians, and I just don't.
It takes a lot of pressure off of you to say, do I really have to be that public? Right. Do I have to air everything?
And here's where a lot of people, when an excuse that I used to hear is, well, I prefer to be more private. Well, here's the thing. You can show up on social media and decide exactly what you're going to show and what you won't show. If you don't want to showcase your kids anymore, don't showcase your kids. If you don't want to show your husband, don't show your husband. If I know for me, I don't feel it appropriate anymore to share my bedroom. I just don't. So I don't take my camera into the bedroom. I just don't do it. And so those little decisions you make about privacy, you now can do without any type of apology. So when you look at your content again, you really want to ask yourself, how does this content serve and why am I posting this?
Yeah.
One thing that I notice a lot of people do, and if you feel called out in this episode, I encourage you to stay on this episode and not to take it personal. Remember, it's always a choice to be offended. But let's say that you are in the health and wellness industry and you show up and you have your selfie and you talk about the shake you drink and you talk about how you flex and you talk about how you got gains and you talk about your morning workout and your evening routine, but you never ask people what they need. You aren't serving, you're showing. All you're doing is showing.
Look at me.
People don't care. They don't care unless they know you care. So if you are showing up on social media and you're going, I'm just not getting attention, I'm not getting a lot of interest, part of that is because it's been about the show that you have about your life, about your products, about what they do for you versus what you do for other people.
Yeah.
And one thing that I teach and I've taught in the community, I've taught in Chic Branding Experiences, I give this information a lot as a staple story, which although it sounds like it's about you, it really isn't. It's really about the consumer on the other side of your platform. And making that small tweak in how you're showing up can make a huge difference in your bottom line.
Sure. Yeah. It absolutely can. And I think that's like my biggest takeaway from what you just shared is really saying, what am I doing for other people as I'm sharing? How is me sharing this impacting somebody else's life?
Yeah.
And if it doesn't have any value, there really isn't a point, right?
One other thing you mentioned earlier, and I love this example where you talked about stories and it was like somebody did like 20 or 30 story sets. If I was looking to join a direct sales business and I looked at your content and saw you had like 20 to 30 story sets up, I would go, it's like she never puts her phone down. It's like she's attached to her work. I don't want to work like that.
Yeah.
So what you might actually be doing by showing up nonstop is actually creating a barrier between you and your potential enrollee.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about engagement because this changes all the time too. So, let's talk a little bit about 2023. What's the engagement?
Okay. I am going to preach for a second.
Okay. All right.
Because this is going to be a big one. Engagement isn't just about people coming to your platform and liking your content. Okay. You have to go out. If you are not seeing an increase in your reach, in your engagement, and I know a lot of people want to see an increase in their following, I no longer look at that as even a goal. It's no longer a goal for me to even grow a following.
Yeah.
I am looking to grow my sales and how I serve and who I serve. And so people are becoming very selective over who they follow and who they allow to influence them in their lives. And so when it comes to engagement, you can't just put up a post and expect people to come to you. We have to kind of look at, and what am I doing to go out and find people? What am I doing to create engaging conversations? And in the Direct Sales Done Right planner, in the income producing activities tracker, we actually say, like, are you engaging with people? And here's what I find time and time again, that's like zero. Like I don't have time to actually go out and engage. I don't have time to socialize. Yes, you do. And in fact, I would say quality engagement in 2023 is even more important than your quality content.
100%.
I know that's a truth bomb.
But it's intentionality. You have to schedule it in. Like everything else in our life, you schedule it in. It's not I'm going to jump on social media, I'm going to post, and I'm going to get on with my day, because then it's just about you and you're not cultivating a community.
Sure.
But when you sit down and you say, you know what, I'm going to spend 10 or 15 minutes seeing what my ideal client is up to. What are some of the things that they're experiencing? What are some of their challenges? I'm going to get in my stories. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to speak to my community. Then I'm going to post content that I know is addressing their problem. And then I'm going to stick around for a while.
Yeah.
And I'm going to engage with people. And so all that is doing is continuing to bring people back, because social media isn't one-sided. It's not you blasting out your message and everybody else is just clicking the purchase button on what you have to offer. It is, social media is community. It is just not in the real life. It is not in the physical. It is, we are creating a community, but it is online. And that is reciprocal and it's two-way. So if you're wanting social media to be a tool you use to grow your business, you have to understand that yes, cultivating that community and doing that engagement is actually a to-do that is essential to you growing the bottom line.
I love that. And it just truth bomb for you, I'm going to give it a little early, is if you have time to just scroll social media, you have time to socialize intentionally.
You sure do. Yeah.
So if you're saying you don't have time to go out and socialize, you really do. If you can't be necessarily strategic about it, you only have 5 minutes. 5 minutes is better than nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So any tips for people based off of today and what we shared to kind of wrap it up, that changes they should make moving forward?
All right. So first is mindset. The first one for me personally would be mindset. When I niched down this past summer, I went from focusing on growth, and I was seeing pretty consistent growth. I was doing a little bit of marriage reels. I was doing funny memes. And although I was seeing growth, I wasn't necessarily seeing conversion. And so I want to note that as I niche down, my conversations have gotten deeper, but my engagement has gone down because I haven't been so focused on going out to the masses.
I love that.
I've been really focused on serving a specific type of person who needs my message, who can be served by my content, versus just trying to serve everybody.
Love that.
So my first tip would be, you have to shift your mindset from being very much engagement focused and reach focused and follower focused into serving focused. And this helps you take away from like it being so personal of a brand into more of an intentional brand. The second tip I have for you is you have to create content that serves your ideal client. And what I tell people to do in this case is to identify, well, what is the biggest problem that your ideal client has? What is the desire they really have? And then ultimately, what is the solution that you offer? And those are the points that you should be addressing in your social media. And if you aren't addressing those things and you're creating the funny memes or the funny reels, but there isn't a purpose to it time and time again, you're not going to see those people convert into your customers because that's not your messaging.
Right.
So I really want to make sure that we're clear. It's one thing to be super entertaining and create a high engagement. And if that's your strategy, sure, but it might not be converting to sales.
Right.
People might just not look at you and trust you in that way. Another thing that we do is we create that hand raising sort of content where it's like, a call to action is when like drop a, hand raise or a heart if you want more information. Just yesterday, I did a really funny reel about just your upline and the strategy. I always feel bad when I do this because I'm like, it wasn't so much Melanie that did that, but I'll be honest with you, a lot of times we didn't know exactly what we were doing too. Yeah. So I did this and I was like, oh, that's not working anymore. And I got a lot of engagement with it. And then I was able to message them directly and have a conversation with them. Yeah. And again, I go back to conversation. And the last one would be, you have to socialize. It can't just be you go on, you do your post, you check it off the box. Yeah. You have to go out and intentionally socialize with other people.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So great advice. And okay, so if people are craving more in how to do the things we've discussed today, what would be the best service to plug them into here at Chic Influencer?
Well, I'm always going to be partial to the community. So our direct sales done right community, where we have a lot of conversations about that. Yeah. If you're looking to make an investment in your business and get a personalized approach to your brand, and you really want someone to do an in-depth audit of what you're currently doing, and then also get to know you personally so that they can give you guidance, I do what's called Chic Branding Experiences, and they are phenomenal. Yeah. We will leave in the show notes for you, though, both services. Depending on what your budget is and where you are in your business, there is a good fit for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So today, we just want to end with a little bit of client love because, people are getting results. When they work with Chic Influencer, they're seeing transformation, whether it's through their social media, their sales, their recruitment, their leadership. And that is what we love to do. And we like to showcase people that are getting results. So Missy,
I just read this and I went,
I know. Missy's amazing. She just came back from her second annual convention with 3 awards. She was so happy. She ranked 3rd place in top personal sales volume, won the Vendor of the Year award and the Spirit of Topanga award. What a great year. I could not have done it without all of your help. You guys have helped me more than you know. Yes. So Missy, we're excited for you. We're rooting for you, and we're so grateful that you are a part of our Chic Influencer community.
All right, you guys, we will see you on next week's episode of the Direct Sales Done Right podcast.
All right, so if you loved today's episode, make sure you head over to wherever you listened to the episode today and leave us a rating and review. And also, take a little screenshot and tag us on Chic Influencer. We'll feature you in our stories. Plus, we'd love to get your feedback and hear from our listeners.
Yep. Until next week, let's make chic happen.